on your side. This is WHAS 11 News.
Are you concerned they're going to let you go today?
I have no idea.
Do you think you should be let go?
I don't have any idea.
Are you being fired today, Coach? What do you think of all the attention being paid to yet another scandal?
Right now, tonight at 5, Rick Pitino, Tom Jurich walking to learn their fates at U of L this morning. The long careers now on administrative leave, but in reality, the futures at U of L appear to be over.
Doing nothing would be a tacit endorsement of unethical and criminal behavior.
And the interim president, Dr. Greg Postel, holding a news conference today saying both Pitino and the athletics director, Tom Jurich, on administrative leave. Dr. Postel saying this latest scandal leaving him troubled and angry.
But first at 5, just in 1 hour ago, the very first statement from Tom Jurich's disappointment does not even come close to describing my feelings surrounding the allegation that any member of the basketball staff could be involved in the criminal conduct announced yesterday. It is heartbreaking, he went on to say, to me that the alleged intentional and secret criminal acts can bring such harm to our school.
He said, I love this university, the Louisville community, and all of our fans. I plan to continue to help U of L overcome the challenges it faces and work cooperatively with the university with the support of the U of L Board of Trustees following their meeting on October the 19th.
Sounds like someone who's not going anywhere anytime soon. Well, the world of academics and sports tonight focused on U of L. The two names once thought to be untouchable are ousted. Jurich and Pitino removed from their jobs. Good evening, everyone. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Rachel Platt. For the chairman of the board and the school's interim president, it came down to that FBI investigation. It revealed U of L coaches trying to get money from Adidas for a prominent recruit. The school is promising to put 2 interim leaders in those jobs within 48 hours.
Trying to move fast, and we begin our team coverage with Derek Rose live at U of L. He covered the announcement at 1 o'clock today, and Derek, it is certainly the talk of the town tonight.
It certainly is, Doug, and certainly here on the campus of the University of Louisville, the decision, an unpaid administrative leave for head coach Rick Pitino, a paid administrative leave for athletic director Tom Jurich. In that news conference today, I asked the specific question, why paid for one and unpaid for the other? Also, why not just clean house altogether? Well, the answer we received was that for today, their jobs were saved by their contracts.
An administrative leave is an administrative leave. It is not a dismissal from a permanent position.
University of Louisville interim president Dr. Greg Postel hinted on Wednesday the school wanted to put as much distance between itself and athletic director Tom Jurich and men's basketball coach Rick Pitino as possible. But despite this latest scandal and the FBI investigation of arrangements by an Adidas official to pay Brian Bowen's family 6 figures to entice him to commit to U of L and a deal with Adidas, the university still can only do so much. According to Clause 6.3 of the contract between the U of L Athletic Association and Coach Pitino, he can only be fired with cause by the association's board of directors or subcommittee of the board after 10 days written notice and the opportunity for Pitino to present evidence. For Jurich to be fired with cause, he has to be given 30 days to, quote, cure the reasonable satisfaction of such violation. But if the university has no cause to fire Jurich, its intent to let him go must have a 90-day notice.
This is a typical way that universities deal with a situation where there is an ongoing criminal investigation. The criminal investigation is not complete, and individuals at this institution have not been formally charged.
Just to iterate, he's speaking about Tom Jurich and Rick Pitino. Neither of them have been implicated in this FBI investigation. Neither of them have been named publicly or charged by the FBI or the U.S. attorneys out of New York. There was another question, one coming directly from students, passed to me, to Greg Postel. I posed that question to them. His message for those students and the campus here at U of L. We're working on that story right now for you. His answer coming up at 6 o'clock. We're live tonight. I'm Derek Rose, WHAS 11 News.
All right, Derek, thank you so much. Well, both Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich arriving separately, but early today to meet with U of L's interim president, neither with much to say.
Their meetings really lasted only minutes, about under 10 minutes each. It was obvious by their demeanor the scandal was weighing pretty heavily on them. WHAS 11's Chris Williams was there. He asked both men questions as they were entering the building to learn what was coming next for them. Chris?
Doug and Rachel, that early interaction we had this morning was an indication of how this day was going to shape up for the two men at the center of the fallout from the latest scandal. While the athletic director, Tom Jurich, politely gave short answers to my question, Coach Rick Pitino was in a less talkative mood as he entered Grawemeyer Hall here. Are you being fired today, Coach? Moments earlier, reports had surfaced that Coach Rick Pitino informed his staff that he expected to be fired. He silently walked into Grawemeyer Hall, silent except for insisting we not enter a public building. We followed him inside, and when Coach Pitino could not find the meeting room, we pointed out the door where inside waited interim president Dr. Greg Postel. Coach Pitino emerged after 5 minutes, silently walking to an awaiting car. About an hour earlier, Tom Jurich had arrived for a meeting that lasted about 5 minutes as well. Do you think you should be let go?
Don't have any idea.
What do you think about the people who've been trying to get the governor to keep you around?
Didn't know anything about it.
The news conference was a packed house with news crews from national and local outlets awaiting word on what exactly had led to the quick endings of those meetings with Pitino and Jurich. Interim President Dr. Postel took the reins of the university at a turbulent time, but just last week it appeared sunny skies were closer than any time over the past nearly 3 years. A resolution was in the works to close the door on the financial scandal involving the University Foundation. An accreditation agency finished its visit and was preparing a report that could lift the school from probation. And the athletic department was working through the NCAA process after the basketball team's stripper scandal. Dr. Postel described learning of the FBI investigation through media reports.
But I think people who have watched what the University of Louisville has been busy doing in calendar year 2017 will understand that we have been working day and night, committed to make sure this place is a wonderful place for our students and our faculty and staff, and we're making a tremendous amount of progress. And when something like this happens, it makes me angry that we have more work to do to get where we're going to get. It's not going to prevent us from getting where we want to get, but it's another stumbling block, and yes, I was angry about it.
Board of Trustees Chairman J. David Grissom also described disbelief that came with learning of the FBI case, and you'll hear from him tonight at 6 o'clock. For now, live at U of L, Chris Williams, WHAS 11 News.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. Well, we've heard fans say not again. We're tired of this. Many just feeling too many scandals at U of L. And tonight, we want you to weigh in on the action taken today, that administrative leave. Do you support the administrative leave for both Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich? More than 700 of you have voted. Log on to WHAS11.com/vote to weigh in right now. 81% are saying yes, we agree with it, and about 19% are saying they don't. Our Shay McAllister on how fans are reacting to today's news conference. Shay?
Rachel, the overwhelming response I'm hearing is people saying they saw this coming and they are ready for a change. Earlier today at Cardinal Cafe, fans were listening closely to every word from U of L's announcement, most learning for the first time that both Tom Jurich and Rick Pitino would be put on leave. Some say it's a welcome change. Others say it wasn't exactly what they wanted to hear. Most all agreed that they have no clue what the future holds for U of L's basketball team.
It's a very difficult situation. I can imagine that this administration is having many in-depth discussions over it, and I feel for them. I really do. I feel for all the whole program.
They have to do this as far as their contracts. They can't just automatically say you're out. I think it's a done deal.
I think they should get rid of them. I think people's, I don't know, I guess we're tired of it a little bit. It's there's a pattern here, so I think it's time to start fresh.
And the next big question on most fans' minds tonight, who will be filling those two spots? Some fans mentioned that they're worried about it, that the best of the best already have jobs in the industry this close to the season. But today, they are just trying to stay hopeful. Doug?
All right, Shay, thank you very much. Starting yesterday on social media, right here, we started to hear you loud and clear about all this. You wanted swift change and big change, and U of L fans got it this morning. Some people really more surprised by the move on Jurich than Pitino. WHAS 11's Kayla Moody is joining us now from our digital desk in the newsroom where fans and athletes, former athletes at U of L, have been weighing in. Kayla?
Well, Doug, this afternoon, Louisville recruit Anthony Simmons took to Twitter to announce that he is decommitting from Louisville. He said it was a tough decision, but one that he and his family believe is best for his future. Now, former Cards players, as you said, are also weighing in on this, including Kevin Ware, who offered his support to his former coach, saying he can't keep a good one down. Rick will be good regardless. Now, reaction also pouring in from James Cook, who writes, as a lifetime diehard U of L fan, I am ashamed of U of L coaching and staff have embarrassed the reputation of players, fans, and the university. He said, shame. And Rick Soul said, I think U of L season ticket holders deserve the option of a refund. Again, all these comments coming in on Twitter. A woman who goes by D on Twitter says, so embarrassing as a fan, I honestly have no words. And Brian Faust saying, remember that U of L is more than this, more than 30,000 people, hardworking students, faculty, staff behind the school, love and support for them today. A good reminder. And as always, you can join in on the conversation by posting your comments to our WHAS 11 Twitter and Facebook pages. Doug and Rachel, back to you.
Thank you, Kayla. And so far during our real-time voting, which we opened at 4 o'clock today, most of you are agreeing with the decision that was taken at U of L today. You think the administrators there at least made the right decision so far.
Let's bring up that megaphone again if we can right now. We're asking you if you support the move taken today with administrative leave. We are up to just about 800 votes right now. And again, 81% saying yes, 19% are saying no.
Well, coming up, he joined us last night and pretty much called what happened this morning, so we asked Bob Valvano to come back right here again tonight.
The ESPN radio host is weighing in with his reaction and the future of Cardinal athletics.
Am I concerned about what's going to happen with our men's basketball team? Of course I am.
A question mark for the future of the U of L basketball team, leaving some folks uneasy for the future of the Yum Center. Our Tabney Dozier talks with key community players and leaders.
Rick Pitino's had a storied career with U of L and UK. That's not disputed, but how much will this scandalous history overshadow that? We'll take a look at his career with WHAS 11 Sports Director Ken Spencer a little later on. Well, we do want to let you know we just got a statement in from Rick Pitino's attorney, Steve Pence. And in effect, he is saying the coach has been fired. Those are his words, I guess, trying to clear up the language that's been used today by the school. And this matter will now follow its legal course, which
and he
means
said it's regrettable, too. I saw in there.
On the way. We'll bring you more of that statement from Steve Pence coming up. And as we continue our coverage of the U of L men's basketball team's involvement in that federal investigation, many are wondering, what does this mean now for the KFC Yum Center, of course, the home of the Cardinals?
U of L, of course, is the arena's main tenant, and as we know, that arena is far from being paid off. WHAS 11's Tabney Dozier continues our team coverage. She is live in downtown Louisville. And Tabney, what did the Arena Authority have to say about all this today?
It says it is disappointed, Doug and Rachel, in these developments. As we know, ticket sales just one avenue to help service the debt here at the KFC Yum Center. But I'm told this news does not change the arena's plans to refinance those municipal bonds and continue to pay off this debt. This is what the Louisville Arena Authority and city leaders love to see. A packed KFC Yum Center full of fans, bringing revenue to the Derby City and putting a dent in the amount it took to build and fund this facility.
What is transpiring at the university and at the United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York does affect the arena, and so it's something we're paying close attention to.
The FBI is now investigating the University of Louisville men's basketball team for alleged involvement in fraud and bribery involving a player, coaches, and its sponsor, Adidas.
The income that we derive to help service this debt is through ticket sales.
Arena Authority Chairman Scott Cox says paying the bonds used to finance construction is a shared agreement with the city and U of L.
There are essentially some balloon payments, for instance, one in 2029 that we were not going to be able to meet, and probably in the next couple of years we weren't going to be able to service the debt.
Once that happened, Cox says the Arena Authority worked with legislature to lengthen the tax increment financing to modify the bonds. The city agreed to pay more money every year while bonds are in existence, and U of L also agreed to pay more money to service the debt. The more fans filling the seats, the more cash that comes in. That is a concern now with major shakeups affecting the team.
I believe these businesses will find a way to keep their doors open, and I know that the community in the region can come out and support those businesses.
Only time will tell what impact this investigation will have on the arena, but it's a question that is on the minds of many. I asked for Mayor Greg Fisher's thoughts on the investigation affecting the Yum Center. He said it's too early to speculate, but he did tell me he believes in U of L and, quote, We all need to support its students, faculty, and staff who work hard every day. I have confidence that the Board of Trustees will take the necessary actions to lead the city's flagship university to a bright future, end quote. Tomorrow, Scott Cox tells me the meeting in Frankfurt to oversee the bond issues for the Yum Center will continue as planned. Reporting live in downtown Louisville, I'm Tabney Dozier, WHAS 11 News.
All right, Tabney, thank you so much. And now back to the storied career of Rick Pitino. He has been the head basketball coach for 31 seasons, compiling 745 wins.
He took over at Louisville in 2001 after being hired by Tom Jurich. He didn't have a job at the time. Sports director Ken Spencer is here with more on the long career of Rick Pitino. His attorney is now promising a legal fight, saying he's effectively been fired from his job today.
You know, during his career, you often heard this phrase or these words by Rick Pitino, that it was important for him to always be compliant and follow the rules of the NCAA. Well, that career may have just come to an end. From the moment he stepped on campus in 2001, it was clear things were going to change under Rick Pitino for the Louisville basketball program.
And Tom said that the players know what's in store for them. No, they don't.
His pressing, up-tempo style was on display the very first moment he roamed the Cards bench in Freedom Hall. It took a few years, but in 2005, Pitino brought Louisville back among the nation's elite, taking them to the Final Four.
My pride level for this basketball team is as high as it's ever been since I've been a coach. I've never seen anything quite like it in my life.
However, in 2009, the Karen Cypher scandal rocked Pitino and his family. He was blackmailed by Cypher after the two had sex in 2003. A judge found her guilty of extortion and sentenced her to prison. But the damage to Pitino's reputation was already done. Perhaps a healing moment for Pitino came in 2012. He seemed re-energized as the Cards made a magical run to the Final Four.
It just means so much to me because I've wanted so badly for my dad to get another national championship.
The following year, Louisville not only went back to the Final Four, this time they finished it off with the program's third national title.
This is one of the most gratifying experiences of my life.
It's really special because, you know, we've been through a lot of sad stuff.
That same year, Pitino was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame.
Louisville taught me for 13 years what a family's all about.
He's the first coach in NCAA history to win a national championship at two different schools.
The reason we picked a bat is some press conferences are difficult, as it is for me. Feel free to use this at any time.
But now an entire legacy has been completely shattered by the latest scandal. You know, when you look back at the career of Rick Pitino here, it almost there's almost like a roller coaster. You know, after the Karen Cypher scandal, I think he looked tired and he looked kind of beat down. And then all of a sudden, you know, he had that run where they went to the Final Fours and they went to the national championships and he was inducted in the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. And that was gone. It was like a cloud that was lifted off of him and he seemed rejuvenated. But here in the last few years, that tired look kind of crept back in a little bit, and I think it was definitely evident today as he's walking to and from the president's office.
One quick question we had for you. Do you see him ending up anywhere again in the world of basketball?
You know, I think it's more likely that he ends up becoming an analyst because in the mid-2000s, that was really the direction. Remember what I mentioned that he kind of looked tired? You know, he was thinking about getting out of coaching, and he was going to become, you know, an analyst, whether that was for ESPN, CBS, you know, one of those, you know, college basketball networks. But, you know, his friends kind of talked him out of it, and that's when he kind of was rejuvenated within the sport again. You know, Adrian Wojnarowski, who is a NBA insider for ESPN, tweeted out today that in the last few years he has made some inquiries about being interested in NBA jobs. There just wasn't a lot of interest.
How about the change in tone, though, today?
Probably wouldn't
the
be.
change in tone today from both Pitino saying I'm going to fight, and then Tom Jurich saying I hope to come back after the October 19th meeting.
You know, I still think that a lot of that is legal language. I think that both men, deep down, they know it's over. They know that their time here at the University of Louisville has passed, but I think ultimately you've got to be able to say the right things because both of them still have time on their contracts, and they're still owed money on those contracts.
But it will be interesting if it ends up in a legal battle. Can you imagine?
It could get ugly.
Yeah.
With all the other things that are going on.
Absolutely.
Still waiting for the NCAA decision. All right,
Kent,
thank you very much, Kent.
All right, Ben, thank you so much. We want to go back right now to that statement that came in within the past few minutes from Rick Pitino's attorney. Steve Pence saying, quote, "The University of Louisville placed Coach Pitino on indefinite unpaid administrative leave today. It did not give him prior notice of the disciplinary action or an opportunity to be heard, as required by university policy and Coach Pitino's employment contract."
As you see on the screen, the statement goes on to say Coach Pitino has in effect been fired. The matter will now follow its legal course. This is interesting because Tom Jurich's statement was actually from him but forwarded to us by an attorney. That is Rick Pitino's attorney speaking, but Jurich's statement doesn't mention anything about maybe even legal challenges in the future.
Not at all.
Two different tones.
Absolutely. This is like it's not over yet, really, from Rick Pitino when it comes to that, at least from his attorney standpoint. Well, the cloud of controversy over the University of Louisville continues today with athletics director Tom Jurich and basketball head coach Rick Pitino now put on administrative leave. Thanks for staying with us at 5:30. I'm Rachel Platt.
And I'm Doug Proffitt. But Rick Pitino's attorney, as you've been seeing, is telling us that's just a matter of formalities, that the coach, he says, has been effectively fired in the wake of the FBI corruption and fraud investigation.
The next question, perhaps, could it lead to the death penalty next from the NCAA? Our Robert Bradfield is here to explain how all that could play out, and I guess the student newspaper that's weighing in at U of L.
Big headlines here.
Yes, even yesterday evening we saw that as well, and a lot of what ifs here. So how many of you, or actually many of you, are wondering probably at home, what exactly does the death penalty mean and how long does it last? Well, the death penalty means the removal of a repeat violator program right to compete for at least a year. Remember, U of L was already under probation, and the NCAA, though, has not used it to punish a Division I athletics program in more than 30 years. Back in February 1987 against Southern Methodist University's football program. The first program, however, to be handled the death penalty was the University of Kentucky basketball program for the 1952-1953 season. And the sports editor for the student newspaper, the Louisville Cardinal, is calling for the death penalty for the basketball program. You see the headline there. Writer Dalton Ray with the headline, "Death penalty is the only savior for the dumpster fire that is U of L men's basketball." Now, I spoke to Ray about that article and why he believes it would be in the best interest of the university to end its ties with Coach Rick Pitino and suspend the program for at least a year.
Being able to have this figure that you hold so high and holy to come through and just simply tarnish his legacy and the legacy with the university, it's just embarrassing.
So what's the likelihood then that the death penalty would be imposed for U of L? Well, tonight on 11 at 11, I talk with the WHAS radio host about that possibility and what it could mean for the athletics department. You'll also hear more from Ray tonight, again at 11 at 11. Robert Bradfield, WHAS 11 News.
All right, Robert, thank you so much. And college hoops icon Dick Vitale also weighing in on the scandal, voicing his frustration about the developments coming out of U of L.
He's close to Rick Pitino. The former college basketball coach says he's upset, frustrated, and disgusted about the developments and says college basketball needs somebody to fix a system that is truly broken.
It breaks your heart. I mean, we're not naive to know. We've heard rumors for years about what's transpired, but these are more than rumors now. I mean, it's sad.
Well, he pretty much predicted what would happen right here last night at 5:30.
That's right. Joining us again tonight, ESPN radio host Bob Valvano, a former coach who has known Rick Pitino since, I guess, you were 13 years old?
Yeah, he worked the basketball camp my father used to run when I was a kid, so known him for a long time.
If you had to say something to him today and how he should handle this, you've seen how he's apparently digging in, going to go after it legally. What would you tell him to do?
Well, I had Dick Vitale on my radio show today, and he called Rick last night and said, you know, I love you, because Dick's been very close with him as I have, and said, but really, it's time for you to move on. I mean, and that's kind of what I feel, that it is time to move on. And if you approach it that way, then you ask yourself, well, what's the exit strategy going to be? And he evidently is going to go down fighting. At least the two things we've seen from his lawyer so far have been very contentious. I just wonder if he might be better served standing up and saying, look, this is a university that stood behind me not once, but twice through scandals where a lot of other universities would have made a coaching change. And, you know, I'm sorry this is the last chapter, but maybe it's time to get a fresh start, and I'll always remember my time here. You know, that would be a way to go forward. But I don't think it's got anything to do with image or anything. I think they're fighting because the lawyers are getting involved. It's all legalese, and it's all about the money.
Have you spoken to him, and will you reach out to him?
I'll shoot him a text at some point, but, you know, I don't imagine he's going to want to chat. I mean, when we've been through tough spots before, I've sent him a text, and it's usually sometimes as much as 10 days later, he'll write back, thanks for the note, and may add a line to it. I mean, there isn't much to say right now other than I think he knows I'm sad for him, but he's not going to shed any insight into anything, I don't think.
Can an interim to step in there and keep the program on a certain level, or should you be telling fans right now, get ready for a much different season than you've ever seen?
Yes and yes. I mean, they have enough talent there that if you bring somebody in who's a good strategist, I mean, forget about recruiting, and just a guy who's a good teacher and strategist, they should have a solid season because there's so much talent there. But the yes for the rough times ahead is because how does an interim recruit? They've already gotten 2 decommits today from very high-profile recruits who aren't coming. There's a whole bunch of things that you'd be naive to think they're not going to take a bump along the way. So this year could still be good, assuming they're allowed to play. We don't even know now if they'll be allowed to play in the postseason. We haven't heard anything. So there's so many loose ends right now, it's really hard to speculate.
Let's talk about Tom Jurich. You've weighed in on Pitino. There seemed to be a little bit of wiggle room. I don't know if there is with Jurich or not, but his statement today was, I still hope I can help the university kind of dig its way out of all of this.
After that key board meeting coming up.
I was somewhat surprised at that, but my guess is same deal. They're probably trying to send the message out, hey, I didn't resign. I'm here ready to go to work. And maybe he really believes, you know, Tom really believes that they can garner support in times of crisis and change people's minds. Maybe he thinks they can do it. We know there was an orchestrated Twitter effort to try and get people that did not work, but maybe he thinks between now and the board meeting he can put that again. But I thought it was very telling that Mr. Grissom came up and said at the very beginning, but this was unanimous decision. That. So, I mean, he'd have to change a lot of people's minds in a very short time.
So, in the end, you pretty much believe this is what should have happened. I mean, in the end, you saw the problems building and building and building.
You know, Doug, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. In other words, you say, oh, you didn't think they did a good job. They did a lot of good things, both of them. But sometimes everything's got an expiration date. It's time to move on. And I do think that it's time to move on for this program.
And I do think we would all agree there was scandal fatigue.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Just to say that.
The FBI, the biggest of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And that was evident in that Twitter that we saw last night, the tweets. People said, time to let it go.
Yep.
Thank you, Bob. Bob Bavano from ESPN, 6:80 a.m. He's on every day from noon to 3. Well, you know, we've asked, and hundreds of you have been responding. Do you agree with the decision to place Jurich and Pitino on administrative leave?
You can still vote on our website, WHAS11.com/vote, or on your phone right in front of you. And again, we have had more than 800 votes. 81% are saying yes, it was the right move. Only 19% are saying no. That really is right in line with the poll we had yesterday as well. Most people seem to be on board with these decisions.
And the emails we're getting, more than 850 people have voted there. Well, our coverage of today's announcements continuing tonight at 6, including its impact on recruiting and who may step up in the interim, and also the athletic director roles. And don't forget, you can always find the latest updates on this story posted on our website, WHAS11.com. Tonight here on the ranch, really one of the most stunning days in the history of the University of Louisville, a complete turnover of 2 of the most high-profile positions at the school. The ouster of Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich. Their final days appear to be on the way as they're right now put on administrative leave. The interim president of the school said today that doing nothing is tacit approval of criminal behavior. And the buttoned-up former bank chairman, David Grissom, now the chairman of the U of L board, said, I went home last night and told my wife, you can't make this stuff up.
Yes, I was wondering if University of Louisville's basketball team does get the death penalty, what does that do for the financing that they've arranged with the Yum Center?
Hi, it's Pam Zombek from Louisville, and I'm tired of hearing Rick Pitino's excuses, especially in the fact that he doesn't know what his coaches are doing, and he's highly paid to know what they are doing. It's time for him to go.
Everything is a scandal after a scandal, and I think that they need to start cleaning house.
Jim H. in Jeffersonville, 3 scandals from our Hall of Fame coach. What a disgrace. Enough is enough. Hall of Famers should be held to standards of moral and ethics, not by how many wins you have. Mike in Louisville, these 2 are at the top of the pyramid of basketball and sports and should go. This on top of the prostitution scandal, way too much. Susan in Louisville, avid U of L fan since I was 11 years old. I defended Pitino during the prostitute scandal, insisting there was no way he knew about it, blaming Andre McGee. Now an FBI investigation over recruiting. Mark in River Bluff, Prospect, Kentucky, asked Coach Denny Crum to temporarily take over the reins of the basketball program until things can get sorted out. Tonight at the end of the 6 o'clock news, my thoughts for you, summing up the crazy times we've witnessed at U of L, the tone set by former President Jim Ramsey, and those of you, many longtime U of L professors and employees who did speak up, only to be vilified by people on social media and in this town for daring to ask for new leadership back then. That's tonight at 6.